Well, CNN's chief medical correspondent, Sanjay Gupta, is making the case that medical marijuana might just save thousands of people addicted to opioids in the U.S. And in a new op-ed piece for CNN, he tries to convince U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions to embrace marijuana in order to combat the country's deadly opioid epidemic. He writes in part, not only can cannabis work for a variety of conditions, such as epilepsy, multiple sclerosis and pain, sometimes it is the only thing that works. I changed my mind, and I'm certain you can as well. It is time for safe and regulated medical marijuana to be made available nationally. Well, joining me now to discuss all of this is Dr. Reef Karim, founder and medical director of the Control Center of Beverly Hills. Also with me, Dr. Howard Samuels, an addiction treatment specialist and founder and CEO of the Hills Treatment Center. Gentlemen, good to have you with us as usual.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Listen, Sanjay makes the point in this op-ed that the consensus is clear, to use his words, that cannabis can effectively treat pain. He also says the following, and I want to put it up on screen and read it for our viewers. He said, opioids target the breathing centers in the brain, putting their users at real risk of dying from overdose. In stark contrast, with cannabis, there's virtually no risk of overdose or sudden death. Even more remarkable, cannabis treats pain in a way opioids cannot. Though both drugs target receptors that interfere with pain signals to the brain, cannabis does something more. It targets another receptor that decreases inflammation and does it fast. What part of Dr. Gupta's argument is wrong, in your opinion, Howard?
Well, first of all, it's very confusing because there are two components in marijuana. There's the THC component, which is the component that gets you high and loaded on the drug, and that is addictive. Then there's the CBD component that does have a lot of medical components in there that is very useful and helpful, that can reduce anxiety. So you can't just say cannabis as a whole. You have to separate the two compounds, and the ones that work and the ones that are very dangerous, like THC.
But with that being said, if you do strip it out and make the distinction, if you will, do you see this as a path to go down if we're looking at the CBD?
If you're looking at the CBD alone as an oil, I don't have an issue with that. Okay. I have an issue with the THC. Now, you have to understand, the addict, if given the choice, is not going to want the ingredient that doesn't get them high. They're going to want the THC, and that's where I have a problem, because that's not recovery, that's harm reduction. And as a recovering heroin addict myself, I smoked weed, and it did nothing for me, except it kept me, you know, open to using other drugs with it.
Reef, you see it differently. You say there's a big picture piece to this.
When you look at the big picture piece here, so many good people are dying from opioid overdoses. Nearly 500,000 people since 2000 have died because of this. 68,000 last year, 45,000 directly from opiates. This is a huge, huge problem. And I've been saying for years that if you look at the opioid receptor activation sites in the brain, if you look at the cannabinoid sites in the brain, they share common signaling, these common signal pathways, which means they're very similar. If you look at anxiety, if you look at sleep, and you look at pain, all three are used and relieved by opiates or by cannabis. So the big difference, as you stated in the report, is that the cannabinoid receptor sites aren't in the area of the brain that affect breathing. So you're not going to have overdose from cannabis. And we've just scratched the surface with cannabis because the 1970 Scheduling Act, it was put in Schedule 1, so you can't research it. You haven't been able to research it the way that you would like. Eventually, there will be cosmetic-based, like calibrated-based THC CBD ratios. And we're just scratching the surface on that, where eventually we'll be able to have the right compound, if it's medicalized, that will be revolutionary in treating pain, anxiety, and sleep.
I mean, to your point, Howard, that you're saying that, you know, they don't want the CBD, they want the other part of this that gets them high, but I mean, isn't the gold standard of treatment right now kind of medically assisted, basically medication, methadone, effectively, to help people who've got addictions?
No, methadone's horrible. Suboxone is also. So
say what Sanjay says. Let me just, he says that right now the gold standard is medication-assisted treatment, which involves less addictive opioids such as methadone. His point saying cannabis would be better than going down that road.
Well, of course cannabis would be better, but it's not going to be as effective as, for instance, Vivitrol. I mean, Vivitrol is an opiate blocker. That's the conversation we should be having. CBD is not going to do the work that something like Vivitrol will.
But I'm saying even with the what were you saying?
Right, the Vivitrol.
The other side, it's the CBD.
Yes, the CBD.
Yeah, so so even with that part in the mixture, which you say just keeps them high, you know.
Right.
Isn't that better than methadone, is my point?
Well, without question, it's better than methadone, but let me give you an example. As a recovering heroin addict, if I was being given cannabis or THC in order to come off the drug, which I don't believe does anything, okay, I wouldn't have gotten clean and sober and in recovery and been a productive member of society. So what we're saying is, or a lot of people are, let's them take off one drug, like heroin, put them on another drug, which is not going to kill you like marijuana and the THC, but it's going to keep you dysfunctional. It's going to keep you not productive in society and have the motivation.
Reef disagrees, and I've only got about a minute.
I don't agree with that at all. I mean, I think when you're looking at recovery, you're looking at now the way to do recovery. You have some kind of medical-assisted treatment on the front end. We all know it's a spiritual disease. We all know that there's psychological and social effects with this, but you got to hit the biological first. You got to get them safe. Get them off the unsafe drugs. Get them off the drugs that are going to kill them. Then you can wean down, you can substitute out, you can do all sorts of things, but you've got them in a safe place before you take them on the journey of recovery.
Sadly, we're out of time because this is fascinating and you two have such strong opinions, but we have to leave it there. Reef Karim, Dr. Howard Samuels, to both of you, thank you. Thank you. We're going to pick this up again. Thank you.
Okay.